Soccer is coined by the term the beautiful game, and World Atlas states that soccer is a sport with over 3.5 billion fans in the world. And it's interesting because that is almost half of the world's population. Um, Soccer is the largest sport in the world, and it's a global sport that can unify every race, religion, and representation. Um, I will be discussing the cultural impact, economical impact, and historical impact of soccer and how it's become the biggest sport in the world. So, first, the cultural impact of soccer. Um, Soccer is a symbol of national identity for many countries, and it's often a source of pride and unity. Soccer is a game that teaches sportsmanship as well as teamwork, which can also apply in everyday life. And the Guardian states that there are very few sporting or cultural entities that cross international boundaries, cross all cultures, and have a direct impact on the way societies interpret themselves and each other. This is how soccer can be seen as a crossroads. Um, it interlinks a lot of different cultures and representations, which is another benefit of how it's one of the best sport in the world. Next is the importance of the historical impact of soccer. As specified by World Atlas, soccer dates back almost 3,000 years ago when the Aztecs played in Mexico. Um, so this is interesting because it was one of the first ball games, a game of two teams that included a ball where they had to kick it around. Um, Back then, 3,000 years ago, they didn't have the same technology as we had today, and they used a rock instead of a ball, which would seem a little bit painful. Um, it's also important because soccer played a role in the historical events that have occurred over the years. A good example is the Christmas truce back in World War I, when soldiers from the opposite sides came together on Christmas Day to play a scrimmage. Um, there's just a beautiful element of when you're in enemy lines coming together and playing a soccer match. Um, that's why it's another reason why it's called the beautiful game. And according to the Bundesliga, which is the German league, from England, the idea of football spread to Europe and across the Atlantic, where two school teachers, August Hermann and Konrad Koch, introduced the game to Germany circa 1874. This is important because the spread of the game back then, it wasn't as easy to influence others when it comes to spreading the type of culture that soccer has. Um, Another thing about that is when it comes to popularizing a sport and being able to play other countries or other teams in the area, there has to be some sort of organization that needs to happen. Um, and over the years, soccer has progressed so much where it's probably the most tactically advanced game, as well as the most popular um, in our world today. So that's just a background of how it's came to be um, and how far it's come in this day and age. So now that I've told you about the cultural impact and history, I'll tell you about the economics of soccer. So below is a ticket chart for the 2018 Russia World Cup. It is seen that on this side here, it is the lowest tier of seats available, and the total cost for all the potential games to be played is $1,500 US. And for the highest tier, it is around $3,600, which just goes to show how much money really goes into soccer itself, the economy of soccer. And that's just the World Cup strictly, not even mentioning the Premier League, which is the English league, and other leagues around the world. Ticket prices, food prices, transit prices, stuff like that really does go into the economics of soccer. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The major leagues do generate a lot of revenue, as I said before, and the World Cup, which is the chart here that I showed, was the biggest in terms of revenue, which just also comes to show that it is the biggest sport, with the most viewers as well. American sports don't come close. AP News states that FIFA earned a record revenue of $7.5 billion in the 4 years of the commercial deals tied to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, which shows the significance of the World Cup. Going off of that, the World Cup is, again, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sporting event. And it shows how influential soccer is in our country and in the world. But just facts like these, super interesting regarding how it's come to be and how large the sport is. Overall, the cultural, historical, and economical impact of soccer has led it to being the biggest sport in the world, and it's interesting how it's come so far. The timeline of culture and the history behind it, again regarding the Aztecs, very interesting. And soccer is just a sport with beautiful components, and there is a reason why it's the biggest sport in the world. Thank you for listening.